Hello technologists. Today we're going to learn how to use Illustrator to create a file that we will output to the laser cutter to cut out our bag buddy. The first thing I need to do is make sure that I've got access to Illustrator, and I can do that by searching in the search frame. I'm going to type in I-double-L, and I have Illustrator here. If you do that and Illustrator doesn't come up, we need to use the Creative Cloud. So type in CREA, and you should have the school subscription to Creative Cloud available to you. Double click on Creative Cloud. The Creative Cloud will open eventually. You can maximize the window, and I want the latest version. Now I've already opened Illustrator, so mine says open. Yours might say install. You click on this and it will take some time to install. Just be patient, it can run in the background. Once it has installed, double click on it to open, and you should end up with a screen that looks something like this. I've used Illustrator already, so I've got these extra files here. Now I'm in Illustrator. I want to go to File, New. A dialog box will open, and I want to make sure I click on Print. In Print, you can see on the right hand side of the dialog box, we've got some measurements. We want to change the points to millimeters. We want to change our width to 80. The height to 80. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see an advanced tab. It might be closed. You just click on it to open, and in the color mode, change the color mode to RGB color. A little exclamation will come up, that's fine. Just ignore that, we can carry on. Once you've got that, click Create. Your desktop should now look like mine, and that has my drawing surface here. And it's an 80mm by 80mm square, which is the same size as the acrylic squares that we're going to use in the laser cutter and to hand cut. I want to draw a shape on here for the background of my design. My design is going to be a circular background. So I look at the tools over here. Now some of you might not have all the tools that I have here. To find this large toolbox, go to Window, Toolbars, and make sure Advanced is ticked. Another thing you need to check is that you have your control panel across the top here. To access the control panel, Window, make sure Control is ticked. So this is my toolbox here. This is my control panel, and these are my other palettes. And I can open more palettes. They're all hidden in the Windows tab at the top, and any palette that I tick on will appear over here at the right. I don't need color at the moment, so I'm just going to close that. Okay, as I said, I wanted to make a background shape for my bag buddy. I'm going to demonstrate several different ways. If I wanted to create a rectangle background or a square background, I could click on the rectangle tool. It's the fifth tool down. If I hover over it with my mouse, I get a little preview of what the tool is. And to learn more, I can click on this tab here. So I want to create a rectangle. Click, hold, and drag. If I hold the Shift key down while I'm doing that, it will constrain it to a perfect square. And I have a square here. I don't want a perfect square though. I'm a bit concerned about sharp edges on the corners. You can see my corners are quite pointed. I'm going to click on this tool here, the selection tool. Click on my shape I've just drawn, and then do Control Z to delete it. I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool and choose the second option down, rounded rectangle tool. And this will give me a rectangle with rounded corners. I've held the Shift key down because I want it to be a perfect square. And I'm going to make it as big as I can on my piece of material. Now you can see here I've gone off the edges. That's not really a problem. Go to the selection tool, click on the line, and you can drag it back onto your workspace. I just click in the dark grey area and that deselects everything. So you can see I've got the background for my key ring, my bag buddy, as big as it can possibly be. I want to File, Save As, and you can see I've already named some here. I was doing these earlier. So I'm going to use my last name, Wilkins, and bag buddy 1. And that will overwrite the one I've got there. When this palette comes up, just click OK. So that is my background cutting shape. If I wanted to do a different shape, I'm selecting it with the selection tool, hitting delete. I might, for instance, want to do a circle. So this is the ellipse tool. It's the third tool down in the rectangle tool selection. And if I just use the ellipse tool, I get ovals or ellipses of all different shapes and sizes. So I might want an ellipse that looks like that, but it's not very big. Control Z. Again, if I hold the Shift key down, it will constrain it to a perfect circle. And I want it to be as big as it can be on my drawing surface. So I'm just going to center it on there. And I have a perfect circle. I might want to do a different shape entirely. We have another tool in our rectangle tool selection called the polygonal tool or polygon tool. So if I select the polygon tool and click, it asks me how many sides do I want. If I want a triangle, I'll have 3. If I want a hexagon, I'll have 6. Or if I want an octagon, I'll have 8. I'm going to go for a hexagon, 6. Okay, that. And my hexagon comes up. So I can center it, or I can move it to the edge. Now my hexagon is a little bit too small. To make it the right size, make sure you have the selection tool active. Hold your Shift key down and then drag out one of the bottom corners. This will keep it in proportion. If I don't hold that Shift key down, you can see it becomes disproportionate. But if I hold the Shift key down, immediately it goes back into proportion. So I'm going to make sure I can just about fit my hexagon on there. Use this selection tool again just to center it on the page. Now, I've got sharp corners here and I want to just round them off a little bit. So to do that, I need to use this other tool here. It's called the Direct Selection tool. I click on the Direct Selection tool, then I click on my shape. I want to round this corner here. And you can see it says corners just up here. If I arrow up once, it will round my corner a little bit. If I arrow up twice, it'll round it a little more. And I'm just going to deselect so you can see the rounding there. So that corner is rounded for 2 millimeters. I'm going to go back to my Direct Selection tool, go to another corner, and I'm going to round it 2 millimeters. And I'm going to go around all my shape and round all of it. So now I have my hexagon with my corners gently rounded, no sharp edges for me. If I'm really happy with that, for my background shape for my bag buddy, I'm going to File, Save. And you can see it's refreshed there. Now you might want to do some other shapes. For instance, you might want to do a cat shape. I'm going to use the Ellipse tool to draw a shape that's not quite a circle. It's a bit more like a face shape. I'm going to use the Selection tool to move it into a position. Then I'm going to use the Direct Selection tool to click on my anchor point and move my anchor point out a little bit. Same over here with this anchor point. And I'm going to pull this one down a little bit. I could add extra anchor points in. Pen tool, add anchor point tool. And you can see the pen tool has a little plus here. I can click on the line and I've added an anchor point. And I can click on this line and I've added another anchor point. If I want to manipulate those anchor points, I have to go to the direct selection tool, click on the anchor point to select it, and then I can move that anchor point in. Now these anchor points have handles, so I can change the curve. And I want to try and make mine look a little bit more like a cat. So I'm going to pull that up here. Grab the handle, manipulate it, trying to make it look the same as the other side. And I'm pretty happy with that. So that's my cat's head, but my cat needs ears. I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool, click and hold, choose the polygon tool. This time I'm going to make a 3-sided polygon. Go on to the selection tool, select my polygon. I'm going to rotate it slightly. My mouse has now changed a little bit to enable me to rotate it. I'm also going to change its size. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and drag one of the corners in. And put my cat's ear on there. I want to round this top corner. Direct selection tool. Select the point. Corners. I'm going to round this one for 3. I'm going to copy this ear. To do that, selection tool, edit, copy, click on the dark grey, edit, paste, move it vaguely into position, object, transform, reflect. Okay. Position both the ears so you're happy where they are. With the selection tool active, select one ear, hold the Shift key down, select another ear, keeping the Shift key held down, select the whole face. We're going to merge all these so that it's a single outline. To do that, we go to Window, find the Pathfinder tool, make sure it's ticked. My Pathfinder is open at the side here, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to select this button here. It's called Unite. And you can see I have one outline for my cat head. If you're happy with that shape, File, Save. I'm going to demonstrate one more shape, and it's how to do a love heart. I'm going to start with an ellipse tool. And I'm going to draw an ellipse, and I'm not constraining it to be a circle, but I am trying to make it as big as I can. Control-Alt-0 centers your image. Selection tool. I'm going to come and try and get my ellipse on the page here. I'm going to manipulate this now. Selection tool. I'm going to select the dot at the very top. And I'm going to select this convert to corner, and it becomes sharp. And this one I'm going to pull down, following this pink line. Selection tool, move that shape up. I'm going to do the same thing again with the bottom anchor point. Direct selection tool, select the anchor point. Convert to corner, and I'm going to pull it down as far as I can using the pink guide to help keep me centered. I'm now going to manipulate these other anchor points. I'm happy with that heart shape, but it's a little bit too small. Go to the selection tool, hold the shift key down and then drag out one of the corner tabs and make your shape as big as you can on the page. So I've just come off the bottom here a little bit. I'm going to move it up a bit and I have a heart shape. If it's a little bit too far off the edge of the page, you can manipulate it a little bit more just to bring it up a bit. Again, if you're happy with your shape, File, Save As.